is Loyal Frazier. I'm here with Deanna Morrow, who's manning all of that technical stuff. I am a high school teacher, have been for more years than I'm going to tell you, but just suffice to say that I started teaching before there was internet. And so if that gives it away, then that gives it away. And I have been with TCI since my second month in the classroom. I'm a trainer there now as well. I've taught in the states of California, Colorado, and I'm now in the state of Oklahoma. Way too long of an explanation to tell you how I got here, so I will not, I'm just here. But using TCI my entire career, I'm in love with it. And this is called building a positive classroom environment. Because if you're going to use TCI, if you're thinking about using TCI, having an environment that fits TCI is really important for you. And so I'm going to go through some things that I've just learned over my career to help with this. So it used to be, no, you are not going to start doing that. There we go. Brian went over all of the chat. Our chat's kind of messed up right now, so we're going to fix it. So if you have a question for Deanna, you can hit that Q&A and she'll take care of you. But we're on it to try and make that happen. And she'll interrupt at some point in time and let us know that that's working well. So I am not here to tell you the classroom environment that you are supposed to create. I am here to hopefully help you do something that I did not know how to do when I started teaching. And I didn't really know how to do it in my first 10 years when I was teaching. And I would have a great class, and then I'd have the next period that would be a train wreck. And I didn't understand why. And so, of course, I, blamed the students, because why not? Because I wasn't going to blame me. But when I really started to dig down into it, I really found out that I have more control over that than I thought. And so what we're going to cover here very quickly is why building a positive culture is important. And I already alluded to, you're going to do some hands-on, very active things with TCI, and the proper culture is very important. We're going to hopefully be able to give you a framework to help you get started with this. And some of you are going to find things that you do that work wonderfully for you. And maybe you'll find some things that not so much, and maybe they need to be changed. That's certainly what happened with me to create this consistent culture. And the third thing is we're going to work on some ways that you can build the culture you want in your classroom. And I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas. You probably already have some ideas, but it's going to fit within this framework that hopefully we're going to be able to develop today in 45 minutes or so. It's fun. It's fast. It was designed to be 6 hours. So here we go with 45 minutes of a 6-hour deal. So first, why? What do we know that's true? And if you've taught for any length of time, you know everything I'm about to show you, is true. And anecdotally, you'll know it's true. There are, I think, 5 things on here that we know is true. Every classroom or class period, if you're in secondary, develops its own culture and feel. We know this. Different class periods feel different than other class periods. That's not debatable, really. We also know that dogs can be trained. I trained my golden retriever, and he was wonderful to be trained. But my next dog I didn't train, and my dog ran the household, and that was crazy for me. So if we don't set up a culture, the students will set up a culture. And then if you're in high school, like I am with 5 classes, I'll have 5 different cultures. And that's what was happening to me earlier in my career, and I didn't want that to continue to happen. But really, the only thing out there was Wong's book, which was designed for elementary, and absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I got some things out of it, but it didn't fit what I wanted to do. So I went and started researching, and Alan November is a guy that has done a ton of research on this, and he says we need to be intentional about the atmosphere we wish to create. To put it in educational terms, we basically need to backwards map and start with the end in mind. So we have to know what we want, and then we have to purposefully create it. That was huge for me when I learned that. The University of Missouri just did a few years ago something on what a positive classroom culture does for us. And not only can we teach better, but we can teach kids soft skills better, organizational skills, communication skills, things that maybe don't have anything to do with our academic product, but will be very important for the students for their lives. And lastly, and I know the chat's probably not working, so we're not going to be able to do this, but there is statistically provable one reason why students misbehave more than any other reason, And since you can't really share it with me, I'll just assume that you all know the answer and I'll click it up there, and that is boredom. And while I'm not advocating for us to be essentially like a YouTube site where kids just get on and watch videos and zone off into nothingness, we do need to be engaging for the students to not misbehave. There are other reasons. They don't understand the rules of the class that you have. Certain grade levels will do this more than others, but virtually every young person will test authority at some point in time. And if you don't know, this is anecdotally true for me, but it's also in research. Week 3 is the biggest testing week for kids to test teachers once they're comfortable and they want to see if does the teacher mean it when he says, this is what's going to happen. Here's a rule, and here's what's going to happen if you break it or whatever. And then also certain ages a little more than others to assert independence. But that boredom far and away is the biggest reason there's misbehavior in the class. So engagement is a big deal. Here's your first assignment, and I'm really bummed we can't get it in the chat because that would be fun for us to be able to do
I
that.
am
But
working on it. I am working.
sure. No, that was not a slam on you, Deanna. I know what's going on, and
I'm
that's okay.
literally
You'll get it.
we are
You'll get it.
creating a cooperative community. Thank you, Loyal. I'm getting lots of
Got it.
messages there, and they're all saying the same thing. It's that they're just not helpful, but I'm working on it.
Okay. So you are going to build your beginning, what I call OSBs. I didn't get this anywhere. I made this up, not the idea, but the acronym. I actually wanted to call them SOBs, but I think some people might have a problem with that. So it's just OSBs, which stands for Observable Student Behaviors. When people come into my classroom, and I get lots of people in and out of my classroom, formal reasons, informal reasons, I decided, what do I want them to see starting in maybe the 3rd week of my class from the students? I don't actually want them to observe me. I want them to observe my students. And I want to have some measurable student behaviors that they could see. I wanted you to put one in chat. If it works, great. Something's happening in chat. Fantastic. Chat is working because Deanna's a rock star. So if you would like, I'm hoping that today you will create a list of 3 observable student behaviors that are in some way measurable, that somebody could see if they came into your classroom, maybe starting in the 3rd week, and not observing you, but observing them. And if you'll put one in the chat, maybe Deanna can get a little chart of what you want. And if I don't think you need an example, you probably aren't going to put, I want them to see that it's completely and totally out of control with 7 kids sleeping, 9 kids staring out the window, etc. You're going to want something. And in order to build the culture that you want, it's important to be able to know what you want and then backwards plan that so you get it. So I'm going to show you my list in a moment. It is not the right list. It is the list for me. And I revisit it every year. And the first couple of years I tweaked it. And I've pretty much settled on what I would like in my class now. And I see that, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 of you have already put something in. And this is awesome. And so Deanna, do you have any that have popped up more
I
than
do.
one?
There's several that have kind of repeated, which includes engagement, interaction, positive response, sharing ideas, collaboration, your students on task, listening to one another. So a lot of things
Good.
that I know that you're going to be covering today.
What I notice is they're all positive.
They're all
Yay.
super
That's
positive.
what, well, that's what
We're
we
looking
all
for.
want. And yet we don't always get it. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna jump right in. Oh, I didn't open that part, put it in the chat, but I verbally told you. These are mine. You can steal them. You can think they're crazy. It doesn't matter. You're not building my culture in your classroom. You're building your culture in your classroom. And so when I've gotten to do this live, and I have about a half a dozen times, new teachers and veteran teachers alike have come away with things. That's why I know that I and we are on to something, and it's important. So here's my first one: 100% of students actively involved 100% of the time. I'm not an 80-80 person. I don't want 80% of my kids involved 80% of the time, because that means in a class of 30 at any one time, 6 kids are completely uninvolved in my class. And I don't want that. So I'm aiming for 100%. If I get 92, I can identify that one student and then I can go forward to try to find out and see what the reason may be for that kid. So when I say actively involved, it means they're doing what I'm wanting them to do. And that's going to be different from time to time, but the fact that they're involved is not different. And that is measurable by people when they come in the classroom. So I give them a half sheet of paper when they walk in, and I ask for feedback from this. And so they write on there what they see. I want a cooperative, that's my key phrase there, helpful environment. My expectation is my students will help one another, help me, help a visitor. And I will model all of these things with them as well. And I will teach them to do these things in my room. I'd love it if that spilled over into their other classes and the rest of their life. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure if it does that. But my third one is, and this one's big for me. When you come into my classroom, you should see my students working harder than I am. It's their class, it's their um, life, it's their education. It should be obvious that I'm in charge. It should be obvious I've done work to get it set up, but they need to be the ones that are engaged. And not that I'm sitting down and reading the sports page at my desk, but I am more on the side and being a guide than I am just being the dominant force in the room every single day. I want it to be engaging. I'll put in the word fun. I'd like it to be fun, but it's not my goal to be fun with no educational reason behind it. I want it to be engaging. I want the students to want to be there, and I want it to be obvious. And so you'll see when I get to my day one how I begin that process for kids. But when they make a doctor's appointment during school, because they won't make it after school, because sports. But if they make it during school, I don't just make it during math class, not my class. I want you in here, and I want you to want to be here. So that's my fourth one, and my fifth one. I want it to be highly participatory. Now I know that's not super measurable, and I get that. But if somebody's only going to come into my class for 10 minutes, they're not likely to see every student outwardly participate. But I want there to be something that I teach from the beginning in how kids can participate, when they need to participate, and the value behind that. There's no magic to the number 5. That's just the number that I have. I think you can get too many numbers or too high of a number, but I've settled on 5. 5 works for me. And this is what I want people to see. And so the process then would be, how do I make this happen in my classroom, which is where I'll go next. Deanna, anything we've got to address before I move on?
Nope, we're doing great.
Okay.
So
So
you're
move
doing
on.
great.
I
Yep,
got it.
go. Yep,
Okay.
we're on it. We're on it.
So steal any of those if you want to. Go. Those are absolutely crazy. You can take some you've had and change the wording. I would say if you can make them, one of those SMART goals measurable, that's more helpful for you because you can absolutely see if you're achieving that goal or not achieving that goal. So the first 5 days, and I used to go 8 days with this. I now go 5 days with this. Many districts in the country are moving along and saying, we're not going to have you start any standards in the first X number of days anyway. Just they're understanding that teachers need to build the class a little bit. So I take 5. If I had to shorten this, I could. If I had to lengthen it, I could. But I'm going to go with a week. And there are 3 things that I'm trying to achieve during this week. The first is I'm trying to build relationships with my students and my students with each other, because we're going to be doing, let's face it, if you've been with TCI a while, there's some weird stuff that we ask you to do, and I want my kids to absolutely without question do the weird things and be all in. And I need to build relationships first. I'm very transparent. You don't have to be transparent, but relationships need to be built. My class needs to be relevant to them. So I'll show you how I try to develop relevance in my particular class. And you all know the question. I'll bring it up later. I won't even say it now, but there's a question that eventually every kid asks about a history class or a math class, maybe even a science class. They ask that question. It'll come up in a bit. And thirdly, which I don't address in the 5 days, but I'm setting the foundation to be able to have rigor. And rigor is a very often misdefined word in education. It doesn't mean more work. It doesn't mean harder work. The actual definition says building an environment where each student is expected to learn at a high level. So I'm building that environment. So when it comes time to really dig into the academia, my students are going to be able to be rigorous and not even know that it's rigorous. That's my goal. But those first 5 days, I really focus on those first two. Relationships, I'm going to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5 days, and all I'm doing is relationships. I don't even mention history. If you ask my students in the hallway, what class are you going to? They'll say Fraser. They won't say history. They don't know yet. I mean, it's on their little piece of paper that says it's supposed to be US history or whatever. But for me, it doesn't matter. I could weave it in, but I don't really want to. The first 2 days are all about me, and this is certainly something you can change time frames on. But students need to know who I am before they're going to share with me who they are, and they need to know who I am before they're going to trust me. And a lot about a TCI classroom is built on trust, and I want to build that trust as quickly as I can. The next period of time, I'm still going to be working on the relationships, but now I'm going to introduce structure and relevance, and the students are going to be building relationships with one another. While they may know a number of people in the class, they don't know everybody in the class, and they don't know everybody that they think they know very well enough to be able to work with them. So that's what I want to build first, is the relationships. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through my first 5 days. And then I'll give some options of some things that I do. And I hope while we're doing this that you'll see some things that you do that would plug here, that would be able to work for you. Because my hope is that you'll really like this structure and you'll be able to build what you want to do your first 5 days when we're done here or while we're doing this. If you're in teacher mode right now, you're already thinking that way, which I love when we do things like that. So here's what I do day one. I stand at the door and I say hi to the kids when they come in. I don't shake hands. I don't do anything goofy unless I maybe know the kid already. I just say hi. And the kids wander in and they sit down for me. I will introduce myself and I will introduce my room, because everything in my room, where it is, what it is, has a purpose for me. That's not really part of this part of the workshop, but it's important. I don't just hang up the poster of the cat hanging by a knot of a rope and say, hang in there, baby, unless there's a reason for that to be there. And yes, because they gave me some posters my first year of teaching, that was on my wall my first year, but it no longer is. I take roll, and the first day that takes some time. I want to get kids to tell me what they want to be called. I want to start to get their face, because I tell my students I will know all of your names by the fifth day in class. If I saw you in the grocery store, I would know who you are and be able to call you by name. That's my goal, and I make it every single year. And then I have an activity that I created for them. So greet them at the door. I make an introductory slide presentation for them. I've got another idea to give that somebody has, but I introduce through visual my life, and I just have a couple here. I introduce my family, because that's the driving force behind so many of the things that I've done. My wife is adopted. Tomorrow's our 27th wedding anniversary, and right now I can see 75 of you going, really? She stayed with you that long? Yes. I asked her to marry me every April 9th again, and the anniversary a different way. And she says yes, but usually what she says, oh, yeah, it's April 9th. And then she says yes. This is the kind of stuff I'm sharing with kids. She's adopted. 3 of my 4 kids are adopted. My biological kid, the one in the blue and the white's my most difficult kid. Uh, this is an old picture, but I have 3 teenage boys now, and we're never all smiling at the same moment. So I keep this I'm just going to share with them whatever I want. I now have 8 grandchildren. Here's number 8. I know. Yes, he's really cute. He just turned 1. And his name is DJ, and he's fantastic. And of the 17 people now in Ada, Oklahoma, where we moved to Unite Family, 11 of them are adopted, and that's a big story. And the number of my kids in my class that are adopted and hear this and have an immediate connection to me is incredible. There are so many of them. And so there's more, but I don't need to share more. That's what I do. And I spend some time doing that so they get to know me. And I have my little shtick, my little stories that I tell with everything as I get going. So I introduce self and I introduce the room while I'm doing that. I take roll after that, after I've told them what I want to be called. I've told them a little bit about me. I just want to take roll, learn that. And then I created an activity, how to be successful in school. I don't want to do what everybody does day one. I want my class to be the place where it's going to be different for kids. So I don't go over the rules in day one. I don't give a textbook in day one. I don't talk about homework, no syllabus. You can absolutely do those things. I just have chosen not to do that. I made this up. And again, everything that you see, if you want it, we have a way for you to get it that we'll share later on. So I
Yeah, so I
call,
was just about to say, Loyal,
yeah,
I do have the shareable link and I'll be putting it into chat in
sweet.
just a few minutes. You guys know as soon as I put it into chat, you'll all click into it and then we'll lose you for a few minutes.
Totally
But
new
just so
me.
you know, there is a handout, How to Be Successful in School. It's in the folder that I'll be sharing in just a little while. So if there's anything that you want to know, like, is that in the folder? Will you be sharing with that? Just throw it into chat and I'll answer it. And then, of course, anything in the question and answers, I'll get to right now.
Sweet. Thanks, Deanna. So this is essentially what I just created this piece of paper with 16 things on it that could help kids be successful in school. If you're perusing right on through it, then you'll notice there are two of them on there that don't sound like it's something that should help them be successful. Cheat as much as you can and fall asleep in class. Yet I have students doing those things. Cheating is the new collaboration, or collaboration is the new cheating. I don't know how to say that. Um, but it serves a purpose to be there. And so I have all of this. In mine, I actually have a second dashed line. And so first I have kids just go through, pick their top three in order, and their number 16 and what's going to help you be successful in school. Then I have them get into groups. They don't know how to get into groups. I just do get with 3 or 4 people. So we'll check their math skills too. And then as a group, I want them to try to agree on their top three and their number 16. Then they elect a spokesperson who's just going to say, our top three are ask a lot of questions, participate in class, have all your materials ready at the bell. And number 16 is set goals for yourself. And I just write it all on the whiteboard on there and keep track and pick the top three that the class says will help them be successful. And number 16, I'll ask a couple of kids, why'd you pick that one? What do you think of that? We'll just begin this participatory thing that I said I wanted to do in my OSBs. And then I get a chance to share some things with them about what I believe will help them be successful, not only in my class, but other classes. And so we address cheat as much as you can. And kids get this sheepish look on your face when you say, well, there's a whole lot of people that cheat all the time and they pass classes and they get grades, and that's being successful. And you can see kind of the look on their face that maybe they've done that, or maybe they just know someone who's done that. But I always tell them I want you to see positive attitudes really important in my class. I put participate in class as one of the ones and pay attention to detail are big ones for me. But I also tell them I'm going to tell them how to get a B in every one of their classes. So take a note if you want to in your next period class, walk in the room, go up to the teacher instead of avoiding the person, shake hands, tell them your name and that you're going to get an A in the class, sit in the front row, take out a piece of paper and a pencil without being told. And wherever the teacher goes, follow with your eyes. And when the teacher looks at you, write something down. It doesn't matter what it is. Write banana. It makes no difference because you've now made a positive impact on that teacher. They already like you and you're ahead of the game. And that's going to help you in the long run. And you can do that tomorrow with me. And you should be amazed at the number of kids that come in and shake my hand and reintroduce themselves again. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful way for me to start the class. And I always end day one with 2 things. One, here are the supplies you need in my class by Thursday. So it's a reminder for some of them, but here are the things you need. And I always end with this phrase, this will be your favorite class. And there's always some snickers and some haha and yeah rights and things like that. But the number of kids who come up to me at the end of the year and say, "You remember when you told us that this was going to be your favorite class?" And of course, I say, "Yes, I remember." Well, it was. And I love that. And I just want them to understand I'm setting the groundwork for a positive experience in my classroom. And then I stand at the door when they leave and then they go out. And that's day one. And there are other things you can do. I got this from a TCI teacher, and I know several people have done it. Is they make little "This Is My Life" packets with 6 to 8 artifacts, like maybe their birth certificate, maybe their driver's license, their diploma from college, their marriage certificate, whatever it is. And the kids get in groups and they explore it and they learn about the teacher through primary source documents, and then they use that when they're going into primary source. Kids have already done that once, and they can use that. That is a beautiful thing to be able to do with kids as well. You can do a classroom scavenger hunt. You can do Lost on the Moon or Lost at Sea, and we've included those in the packet of things that you can have if you want, because they're easy, they're simple, and they serve the purpose of building relationships. That's the day that takes the longest to explain. The rest of them will be a little faster. Don't hesitate to go to the Q&A, and Deanna will jump in if there's anything that we need to do. So I'm going to go to day 2. So they went home. They went to sleep. I went home. I lost my voice. My feet are 3 sizes too big. You ever get teacher feet and teacher voice after day 1? But I'm back to do it all again. I still greet at the door. I still take roll because I'm trying to learn those names. And then I run 2 activities: 3x5 cards, not a very creative name, and a TCI icebreaker called Autograph Icebreaker. And so the 3x5 cards, I give every kid a 3x5 card that's numbered in a way that makes sense to me, because I'm going to make the seating chart from these 3x5 cards. I let kids pick where they sit. You certainly don't have to do that. But I make the claim to them that I'm going to treat them like adults. They don't believe me, but then I keep reminding them all these things that I'm doing are things that adults get to do, and adults get to pick their own seat. Virtually all of them will sit the same place they sat the first day anyway, and I'm totally fine. And they'll hear later that if you don't act appropriately, obviously I'm going to move your seat, but they don't even know what that means yet in the class. So I actually tease this through one thing at a time, and on their card, they're answering it for them. So I give them my whole name, and then I have a story for everything. So my name's Loyal Dwight Fraser Jr. Don't call me Junior, and don't call me Dwight. And I tell them why, and ha ha. Where I live, I give them a number that they can reach me. Ours goes through Zoom. I want their parents' names. I want to know what they do at school. I want their birthday, because so many kids don't get anybody to say happy birthday to them, and I want to be able to do that. I have a story about being allergic to things. For me, it's penicillin. I don't want to hear about dust or homework. And then on the back, this is the real key: anything you need me to know. You love history, you hate history, you struggle reading, you this, you that, anything I need to know. No one will see this but me. This card is just for me. They fill it out, I collect it. When school's over for that day, I actually handwrite a seating chart, because by writing the names and looking at the cards, I'm learning my kids. I can make little notes in sort of a shorthand way that nobody would read if they were able to get a hold of my roll book. And then I put the cards in order by birthday, so that I'll be able to see them and say happy birthday. And anytime I make contact with a parent or something happens with the kid, I write it on the back of this card, so I've got a record of it. And I know I can do all of that digitally, but I know by writing it down, it sticks in my brain, and that's what I want it to do. So this takes, for me, because I tell stories, and that's what I am as a storyteller, this takes 15, 18 minutes for me, and I'm okay with that, because this is day 2. This is them getting to know me. And so now they're getting to know me really well through the things that we're doing today. 3x5 cards. And the second one, and again, you have access to this 2 different ways. This is an autograph icebreaker. There are, I think, actually 35 things on this, and I've changed some. I added likes Diet Coke, because that's my drink of choice. Over ice, no lid, no straw. And so I just added things in here. And so I give every kid one of these. I have them go through and find a few that pertain to them. I teach kids how to shake hands. The number one reason people don't get a job in this country when they go for a job interview is they lose it at the handshake. And so I want to make sure that they know how to shake hands correctly, because there's a correct way and there are a number of incorrect ways. So I teach them. I have them see some of these that are going to work. Then I'm going to model it with a student. We trade papers, shake hands, introduce ourselves, trade the paper. The student signs one and I sign one. I always sign has had braces. The student signs whatever she signs. We hand them back. I teach them to ask a follow-up question. She put down has been to a play. I ask the class, what's a follow-up question? What play? Did you like the play? Where was the play? Those are all great follow-up questions. Then I ask her, what did I sign? And she says, well, has had braces. I said, what are follow-up questions? And kids will say, did they hurt? How long did you have them? And then I'm waiting for them to ask, when did you get them? And I say, seventh grade, the worst year of my life. And I go tell my seventh grade story. And I won't here, but it is a disaster. And part of it is with me breaking my arm throwing a baseball. Part of it is that's when I got braces and I got picked on and all this kind of stuff. And it's a riot, but it's letting them know who I am. And it's letting a lot of kids know that I get it, that maybe you're not in the in crowd. And it's a wonderful thing. I stop. I have all of them practice the handshake again, and then they go and they start getting signatures around the class. I do it for whatever time I have left, stop, talk about a couple of them, collect it, give them points. Everybody's got an A, and they're out the door. And all I do is remind them stuff by Thursday. Super fast, super easy. We give you something called multiple intelligence bingo. That's a good one. Really, any icebreaker works for this, that works for you, that's going to get them to know you a little bit and interact with one another. I just want to everybody to understand I'm being very purposeful about every single thing that I'm doing right now, and it serves a purpose to hit my 5 OSBs. All right, day 3, I'm still building relationships. It's going to
Loyal,
change
before you
yeah, D,
start
please.
day 3,
Yeah,
can you, in case somebody joined us late and they missed the slide with the OSB, can you just remind us what that is?
sure. Let me take a guess. Nope, that wasn't it. Oh man. Okay. Here are the OSBs. They are observable student behaviors. If people come in and see your classroom when you're in the 3rd week of school, what do you want them to see? We had people put it in the chat, and then I gave my 5.
Okay. So when you're saying OSB, just remember those are
OSBs.
your
Yep.
observable student behaviors.
What you want people to see. Absolutely.
Perfect.
And forgive me, I didn't put down what numbers they are, so I'm just going to rattle through very fast, and I'm sorry. Hopefully you're taking all that in.
Yep. And you're
Okay.
at day 3. So when you
Day
get there.
3, I am.
Yeah.
So day 3.
All right. Thank you.
So I've got 3 things to do in day 3. I've got something after I take roll again, but now I'm taking roll with my roll sheet, and I'm looking and I'm able to target kids, and now I'm seeing them face, and I've got all their things written down. So I'm really starting to get names. I'm going to play something I call the game. I'm going to play a TCI thing called Desk Olympics. And then this is the day I'm going to go over my rules that are something that you just have to understand, that this is how we're going to structure the class. I call them Fraser's rules to live by. The game. I love this. Got it from a 7th grade teacher a million years ago. Long range implications from this very simple thing. All you need to play it is some sort of a ball. I have an old school Nerf ball that I guard with my life because they're hard to find now, that's soft. And if somebody made the mistake of throwing it at somebody's face, it could not possibly hurt them. And I need to be able to keep score somewhere. And I just give verbal directions. And I stand up and I say, it's a hard week. It's the first week. I'm sure you're tired by now. It's really hard. So I thought I'd reward you with a game. We're going to divide the class in half. So I just arm, divide in half, this side against this side. Said, I'm going to keep score on the board. And I turn around and I draw a T chart and I say, okay, this side of the room, your team 1, and this side of the room, and then they'll all say team 2, and I'll say team A, because again, I just want to be different, keep them off guard. That's all. I say, we're going to keep score. The winning side gets a prize. We're going to use this ball. It's this half of the room against this half of the room. I don't want to go too fast, on only the 3rd day of school. Does everybody have I lost anybody yet? Anybody have a question? And of course they don't. have a question yet, which is perfect. And I just take the ball, drop it on the floor, and say, go, and grab my whiteboard marker and just stand there. And they stare at each other, and nobody knows what's going on. Some student will be bold, get up, pick up the ball, and I give that team a point. And then the kid doesn't know what to do. And kids are yelling at him, throw it to me. So the kid throws the ball, and I give him a point. That kid throws the ball, and I don't give him a point. That kid doesn't know what to do, throws it to the other team. I give them a point. That team throws it back. I don't give them a point. It doesn't matter what they do. I'm trying to confuse them with the game and the point totals. I have a little basket for Nerf ball in my room. I'll have a chair next to me, and I have me. Some kid will always go, aha, I'm supposed to make a basket. So they go throw it in the basket, and I take 10 points off. And everybody goes crazy now at that point. And then somebody will throw it to me, and he'll hit me with it, and I'll take 20 points off. Ah, funny, funny. But these kids are just going crazy. That all happens in the first 2 to 3 minutes. And then I just stand there and put my hand out. And I stop putting points down and I just stare at my hand. And somewhere fairly quickly, somebody realizes to get up and put the ball in my hand. And then I make a big deal. You won. That's fantastic. And I turn to the other side. What happened to you? And they start complaining. We didn't know how to win. And I said, well, they didn't know how to win and they won. And it's achieving exactly what I wanted to achieve, which is mass confusion. And then I calm them down and I tell them, you will never feel confused like that again in my classroom. Because today and moving forward, I will make sure everything is explained, everything is written, everything's in verbal, and you'll know how to ask questions and what kind of questions to ask. I want to set you up for success, and this is the last time that you'll be confused like this in my class. Have you ever asked kids, have you ever done what you thought was a great job on a project and you got a D? And every head in the room is going to go, yeah, that's happened to me. Um, don't want that to happen. If you're going to get a D on something, you're going to know you're getting a D on something, but you're also going to know how to get the grade that you want to achieve in class. And so it's a fantastic game. It doesn't even take really 10 minutes to do that. And it leads me into the next thing, which is the Desk Olympics. A full explanation is in the toolkit you're going to get the link to later on. But in brief, I thought Desk Olympics was the dumbest thing on the planet when I first heard about it. Like, there's no way this is an intelligent thing. And then I timed my students moving into groups it was an 11th grade class, and it took them over 10 minutes to get there. It's nuts. So what we're trying to do here is get them to move quickly and efficiently into groups. I don't use groups of 5 much, but I use these others. They need to be able to see the board, see each other. This first day, they're going to do groups of 3. So it's either going to look like this, or if they have tables, it's going to look like this. And I tell them exactly what I want, and I'm going to time them, and it's going to be this class against the other classes. And I'll feed the winning class some sort of food, because kids are like dogs. They'll do anything for food, you know that. So and I give them the rules. We go, I play the Olympic music, and it's perfect for this year because the Olympics are going on right now. And I teach them what to do when they get there, and I just have fun with it. But the point is, they get in groups of 3 right now. And then I give them my rules to live by, and that's going to be in there too, just in case you just want to see what I have. But I've taken this sheet, I've cut it into strips, put it in envelopes. I give each group one. They go through them. They're going to pick the top 3 they think are going to help them be most successful. And then they're going to get a copy of this, a fresh copy, and they're going to highlight some of the things that are important. And so I'll share with them what I have of my late work policy, what I have about my hall pass policy, which are different than a lot of other people. And they're doing something they never do. They're actually reading the rules of the class. Normally, we hand them to kids. They take them home to their parents. Their parents don't read them. They sign them. They send them back. It's nothing. I want them to understand everything I'm doing is to help you be successful. And I put a few things on there I know no one else will put there on purpose. I just want to be slightly different on things. To be unique is really the word I want to use. And this takes them, I don't know, 15 minutes to do this. They have to bring it back the next day with the supplies, because Thursday is the day they're supposed to have the pens, the highlighters, the glue stick, the things that I want them to have for the class, because we're going to build the notebook. So now they know the rules. Now they're held accountable for the rules as they move forward. Because I have kids sometimes a second year, I came up with something called Build This, where I give the groups a bunch of things like paper clips, scissors, a pencil, some things. And I'm very vague with the rules again. And the whole point is they just have to build something using all the materials and they win. And I do the very same thing. It's magic what it does. And afterwards, they now know they're held accountable for the rules that I have in the classroom. Super easy, super fast. I'm moving into relevance now in day 4. I haven't stopped building relationships, but it's time to answer that question I alluded to earlier. And you probably all know what it is, but why do we need to take this class? They ask that in history. They ask that in math. You science people can tell me if they really ask that in science. They probably ask it in English as well, but I know they ask it in mine. And so I'm going to answer that, or at least begin to answer that today. So day 4, read at the door, take roll. Now I'm shaking their hands when they come in as well. I'm going to do another round of Desk Olympics. They're going to set up the notebook. I'm going to do the clock. Some people call it the buddy clock. And if I have time, we're going to go over why do we bother to study history. So Desk Olympics part 2, they already know how, so it's very fast. They're going to do groups of 4 this time for me, and they move. Now they're in groups of 4, and they're going to set up what's called their interactive student notebook. That's very much a TCI thing for them. I have them make their own and put a bunch of different sheets in it and things. Whatever it is for you, the way that you want them to be organized in the class needs to be gone over, because you're not going to get it if you don't teach it and expect it. So whatever your organization is, this is when I choose to stick it in there on day 4. And so they're putting it together, they're gluing things in, they're cutting them, they're sitting in groups, they're getting to know other students while they do that. And the first thing I have them put in the notebook is the clock. This is not magic. I did not make this up. I still use it and it's fantastic. I have them just draw it in. They draw in a clock, 12 numbers. Shocking to me the number of kids that don't know how to tell time on a clock like this, but okay. There you go. They're going to go around and they're going to get 12 people they could partner with later on. I actually have a clock for everybody absent because I never have everybody there. I even have one for the unknown student, for the kid that's going to check in later. And so kids can take a flyer on it, but they go around, they trade. Aiden has picked Harper to be his 1:00 appointment. So when it comes time for 1:00, Aiden and Harper would get together and be partners. Anybody absent would come see me. I'd partner them together and they're there. I want kids to be able to get together in whatever group they are needed, pairs in this case, or 4s in this case. I want them to be able to get together, and I want them to be able to have all their stuff out and be together in under 90 seconds for a substitute teacher. That's what I want, and that's what I get. And this helps me because I don't want to make pairs all the time. So all of this is in the toolkit if you want to see it, but it serves as a great icebreaker. And if I have time, and I wasn't allowed to put things in here that I do in the class because of copyright stuff, um, but I use jaywalking. I use if you've never seen the YouTube video of Miss South Carolina, YouTube that one. If kids get stopped by somebody and they're asked geography, government, or history questions, I want them to be able to answer them and not look like an absolute lost puppy. And then I don't want the guy to go, "Who was your history teacher?" And they go, "Mr. Fraser." I'm just protecting me. I could go into far more depth on why I study history, but they're going to get that from me as we go. But the first part about it is I don't want to look dumb on national TV. So there you go. That's what I'm doing. Um, I don't always show this. I don't always have time. When I do, it's a great way to close out the class. We have Meet Me at the Pole. We have Meet Me at Famous Places. We have those for you if you want them and you don't want to use the clock. Elementary teachers often use days of the week to teach the calendar. No magic, but I don't want to take the time to do any of those paired things because I but I don't want them to pick their same friend every single time because they're not going to do what I want them to do. So that's my day 4. I told you these would go a little faster. Day 5 is the money day. Day 5 is the day that I'm building toward. I'm going to do something called an employer wrap, finish Desk Olympics, and kids are going to make a commitment at the end of this day for me. And I know I'm running out of time, so real fast. In their notebook, they're going to write the phrase, "What qualities do employers desire in their employees?" What's a boss want when he hires somebody? Hopefully they're going to have a job someday and they should think about this. I want them to write 5 on their own right now in just 2.5 minutes. I go right on the board. Some kid, this is an example. Some kids will always say to be smart. So I say, how about intelligent? Let's do that. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Great. And they start writing, and then I'm going to take them as a class. And I'm going to get 30 to 35 of those things up there, which is fantastic. Uh, and a great discussion will ensue. I spend as much time on this as I want to because I'm selling relevance in my class. And so they'll put all kinds of stuff up there. None of them are wrong. They're fantastic. They've lost track of what it is that they're actually doing. So we have a discussion about why they're all up there. I do part 3 of Desk Olympics. I put them in pairs, and then I ask this question. How many of these do we actively teach in school to you? Actively, purposefully teach. And the answer, really, quite frankly, is none. I mean, some of them will say, "Ooh, foreign language. Want to know another language? That's great. How many of you have taken Spanish too?" Half the class goes up. Can I drop you in the middle of Mexico and you're going to be able to converse with people really well? No. Okay, you don't have a foreign language. We didn't actively teach it to you. So, what are we doing in school based on what they want in jobs? Well, we have to know what employers want. So, here we go. This is an actual thing. Johns Hopkins did this. What do you want? I'll do them very fast because of time. The 4th most important thing they want is a strong work ethic. The 3rd is interpersonal skills, to be able to work with other people. Honesty, integrity, they put in 1. I have to explain to kids what integrity is. And the number 1 thing is communication skills. And we don't have a class that purposefully is set up to teach any of those things. Do we want strong work ethic? Yeah. Do we pass kids in class without a strong work ethic? Yeah. What are communication skills? Oral and written. That's the number 1 thing they want. They actually tell you that they can teach reading to them easier than they can teach these 4 things. The number 1 reason people get fired from a job in this country is lack of interpersonal skills. They can't get along with their coworkers. So I am going to purposefully teach all 4 of these things to you. There's why my class is relevant. There's why it's relevant. Lastly is the commitment. I love The Matrix. I love the part. If you haven't seen it, you're probably really young. Go watch The Matrix. It's a fantastic movie. But there's a scene where Neo has to choose between a red pill and a blue pill. One of them takes him back to where he was, and he'll wake up and won't know any different. And the other one has him go learn on a wild ride, Alice in Wonderland kind of thing, what the Matrix is, and he's actually going to get to the truth. And I actually always forget which one's which pill does which, but I show the clip right before Neo goes to pull the pill. I stop and I tell the students this. I've done 5 days to sell you on this class and on me. I want you, it's not enough for this to be my class, it has to be your class. I need a commitment from you that you're going to be in this class and be all in. And so if you take I forgot which one it is, if you take the red pill, it means that you want to be in this class. You're going to do what I ask you to do. You're going to trust that everything I'm doing is for your benefit, both personally and academically. If you take the blue pill, whichever one, you're saying, I would like to be in another class. I don't want to be here. And I will do my best to put you somewhere else, but I can't make any promise. But I will have a conversation with you about it. Then I say, have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Kids get up, and I have 2 bowls of M&Ms in my hands with the 2, and kids always want to fake one and grab the other. And I tell them, you don't have to eat it. You just have to take it. And so kids go in and they take. And in all the years I've done this, I've had 1 kid take the wrong one. He had been absent 3 times, tardy twice in those 5 days. First day, he sat in a chair with his feet up on the desk. Didn't obviously want to be there. I had a conversation with him. I went to the counselor and said he's going to fail my class. They moved him. He wanted back 2 weeks later, but it couldn't happen at that point in time. Kids will make that commitment. It's risky. I get it. There are other things that people can do. Whoops, that didn't work. You can have them sign a contract. You can have them draw a picture of them making a commitment. Anything that has them give their word is important because their word matters, because we want them to be into it. This is so important if it's going to be a community for them to have buy-in some way in the class. Relationships,
Loyal. I'm sorry
relevance,
to
rigor. No, we got to go,
interrupt
right?
you. Yeah, we're like 4 minutes over, and I'm sorry I didn't give
I
you
do that.
a timing.
All right.
So and I want to make sure
They
um
know where to go.
they know where to go, but really that's
Okay.
not what I was going to say. You do need to pull that screen
Okay.
up, but I want to put into chat where you can get all of the documents. So I do want to let everyone know there was a question about tweaking for the classroom culture for K-5. So we'll add a document to this folder that will give you some tips on how to tweak it for a K-5 classroom. And then there is a document in the folder for the successful, not successful list is included in this folder. If for some reason you cannot access any of these toolkits, either with the link or the QR code that Loyal just put on the screen, you can just email us. At info@teachtci. Loyal is amazing. And I'm going to stop talking. I'll let you do the summation, Loyal, but great job. And tell
Well,
them what to do
this is
next.
for the better part. I'm glad you attended. That is my email. I love to keep in touch with people. This is my granddaughter that I wanted to make famous. She fell asleep once, and I took the shoot, fell asleep with her finger on shoot and fire. So she's saving the universe. No particular reason, but I needed a closing slide, so there it is. And for you moving forward to period two, would you go forward? There it goes. You've already seen the Amazon gift card one. Here are your choices of the things that you have. That's also in the lobby when you go back there to be able to see what's in session two and then session three. And your steps, I don't know that I'm very good at this, but you get out, pick another one, go into the lobby, and you will get let in by your second session person. But I will say, I will put this up. Don't forget to go get the swag. It's kind of cool. And your certificate of attendance, you got to take that survey when it's all said and done for you. So, folks, it was my pleasure. I hope that was helpful for you in some way. If it really was, the chat's really hard for me to see it. Send me an email. Let me know. I would absolutely love to know that this was helpful, and I love to keep in touch if you have any ideas.
Lots of
Fantastic.
people are saying thank you, that it was great,
Good.
that Loyal was amazing. This one says Loyal
I'll
was
take that.
amazing, but it really has to do with Deanna behind the scenes. And I would agree. No, it
That and
does
that
not.
is
It does not
true.
say
That
that.
is
It does
true.
not say that. I'm just kidding.
We're not going to end this until you most of you are gone because the chat will go away for you, and we want people to be able to see things. So
Yeah.
when you're out of here, you're out of here. Thank you to Deanna. See, you got yourself props there. That's fantastic for that one.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you should be able to get back to the lobby when you end. It may have opened in another tab. So if for some reason you're like, I don't know where the lobby went, it's on a tab somewhere on your desktop. Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Let's go ahead and end it and get everybody out of here, and I'll meet you backstage. Thank you guys.
Got it. Thanks, everybody.